Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for coming to this presentation, and I share my colleague Layla's thanks to the organizers for the gracious invitation to this conference. It's great to be in Korea. It's my first time here, and I'm very much enjoying it. Thank you so much again. I'm very happy that Dr. Bahrami actually set the stage for my study because we're both touching on the same topic. My study is on integrating colloquial Arabic in L2 Arabic curriculum and the development of learners' sociolinguistic competence. So, okay. I too thought about the theme of the conference, and one thing that caught my attention is the geo-economic transition in the Middle East. And I think that we cannot talk about any sort of transition in the Middle East without talking about the changing communication in Arab countries and the changing sociolinguistic scene in Arab countries. One of the major things that happened specifically in the last 3 decades is that colloquial Arabic, I'll call it CA, henceforth, is gaining more prominence in the public sphere, just like in Iran as well. And specifically because of the influence of technology, social media, and satellite channels. And now, when Arabic learners come together, they do not speak MSA or use it as a lingua franca. They can actually speak each other's dialects, and they can understand each other's dialects. And research has shown that actually they do not level in the direction of MSA or speak in MSA. So, Arabic-speaking speech communities are becoming increasingly multi-dialectal and even multilingual. For example, in Morocco, in Tunisia, there is code switching happening at multiple levels in different languages. And also, interestingly, even in domains of use that were previously restricted to modern standard Arabic, for example, religious discourse, one of the most formal domains of use, now actually studies have shown that speakers in religious sermons consistently code switch between CA and MSA, modern standard Arabic, and other genres as well, like political speeches, every single kind of genre, even literature now. We started to see literature being written in colloquial Arabic. So with that in mind, what methods should we adopt to raise Arabic learners' awareness of this reality of Arabic use? The answer, familiarize the students with how Arabic is actually used by Arabic speakers. Develop their sociolinguistic competence, and without an understanding of how MSA and CA are used, this will not be possible. Okay, so how are we as a field teaching Arabic as a foreign language, responding to this reality, this changing linguistic scene in Arab countries? The research shows that worldwide, even though most studies focus on the United States, but worldwide, most programs focus on MSA only. And teaching CA is still the exception rather than the norm in Arabic teaching. And some Arab scholars have long argued that we should introduce CA as early as the beginning stages of Arabic learning. So Yunus argues that if the goal of an Arabic as a foreign language program is to prepare students to function successfully in Arabic, then they should be introduced to both a spoken Arabic dialect and formal Arabic or Fusha, MSA, from the beginning of Arabic learning. And Al-Batan and Belknap argue that the Arabic classroom can and should be a place in which multiple registers coexist, just as they do in real life. Now, with that in mind too, a question is, how do learners accommodate such simultaneous acquisition? I mean, we're dealing with 2 varieties here with marked features. They do have a lot of features in common, but they have some distinct and marked differences in every single linguistic domain. And this is a unique case of second language acquisition. And interestingly, it has not been studied in second language acquisition research, let alone Arabic second language acquisition. And so I decided to investigate that further. And I raised the following research questions. What features of speech do learners in integrated instruction in which they receive training in MSA and CA as of the beginning of Arabic instruction, what features do they use? How do they evolve? How do these features evolve over the course of their Arabic studies? And do learners display systematic patterns? Because the concern is that always that they'll be confused. And do learners show awareness of appropriate register? That's also a major thing. Can they develop that sensitivity, that awareness of appropriate register? Okay, this is my participant sample. 111 learners of Arabic from first year, 50 students. Second year, 33 students, and third year, 28 students. And the first year Arabic students come from semester 1. So this is their very first semester of Arabic. 6 groups with MSA and Levantine, 5 groups, or MSA Egyptian training. And data is drawn from their end of semester interviews. Second year Arabic 2, this is their 4th semester of Arabic, intermediate. 3 groups with MSA Levantine training, and the data is drawn from their end of semester presentations. Okay. Please excuse me, I'm trying to keep track of time. Third year Arabic, 5th semester of Arabic learning, 2 groups, MSA Levantine training, and actually the data come from 2 tasks here. Presentation, a formal type of task, and skits from 18 students. In these skits, they basically develop a scenario. They create a scenario and they perform it in the class. So it's expected to be informal, a day-to-day situation. Okay, and in this study, I used a descriptive observational approach, which is widely used in studies of diglossic code switching among Arabic speakers. And it's also widely used in second language acquisition studies investigating meaning-focused instruction. I did descriptive statistics and qualitative analysis of the data as well in a grounded theory approach. I had only ideas in mind about what to expect, but there was no research out there for me to begin with to raise very specific research questions. And so I let the data guide me. And I created categories as I analyzed the data for the first time. And then when I redid the analysis, I created more subcategories and I kept going back and forth to the data in an iterative process. I was actually working on data analysis up to the very last minute in this conference. So, okay. Oh, I see some, okay. These are the parameters of data analysis. In the interest of time, I leave it to the Q&A. I can talk more about my principles of data analysis, but I chose to focus on specific features that tend to be widely studied in code switching studies among Arabic speakers because they are distinct. They have distinct variables in modern standard Arabic and in colloquial Arabic as well, like verbs, negation markers, conjunctions, lexis, and I also did demonstratives and relative pronouns in third year as well. Okay, so now to the more fun part, to the findings. This is my color coding. I use blue for MSA, purple for Levantine. Those of you who are familiar with Al-Kitab should be familiar with this color coding. Purple Levantine, green Egyptian, and black shared MSA CA features. Okay, so test MSA. What color? Blue. Just to distinguish. Okay, and then Levantine? Purple. Okay, and Egyptian? Green. And shared? Oh, wow, perfect. Okay, now overall, I found that the participants consistently code switched between MSA and CA. And the systematicity of their productions increased across the years of Arabic studies. I saw patterns also of code switching that are well documented in the speech of bilingual speakers and in the speech of Arabic speakers. And as they advanced in their Arabic studies, they started to show more extended ranges of sociolinguistic functions. Okay. This is a quotation from Al-Biruni, a renowned Arab sociolinguist, and in describing his data, which actually came from religious discourse, a very formal domain of use, he described his data as a mixture of two codes that is characterized by frequent switching from one variety to another. I found the same thing in my data. Constant code switching between the variants. I only chose actually 2 tables from descriptive statistics. I have more on additional slides. I would be happy to show them to you, but I wanted to show you the trend. So I chose verbs here across the 3 years. And in 3rd year, I chose formal presentation. See the progression in the features. So in MSA, it started like kind of 50-50 in 1st year. And then, which is of course, I mean, MSA is the expected variety because these are formal presentations. And then in 2nd year, it increased to 84. And much less in CA features. The features, they started to decrease given the formality of the expectation, the formal expectations. I'll explain more in the Q&A about the mixed features. 3rd year, it even increased. And the same thing for all the features. Constant progression for one variety or the other. In the skits, it was actually the opposite. More CA features. And I chose relative pronouns specifically as a representative of the data because there was an interesting pattern here. In the formal presentations, of course, most of the relative pronouns were in modern standard Arabic. 0 in the skits, 0 MSA. 0 relative pronouns, 100% in CA, kind of, which is the expected variety given the informality of the skits. Okay. And I'd like to show 2 examples. I'll just check the time. Okay. 2 examples of what I mean by increasing systematicity. B is one of the most distinct features of colloquial Arabic. The aspectual marker B denoting habitual actions and attached to verbs. In 1st year, 27 of the students used it. Its average use compared to total verb use was 25.5%. 16% of those students used verbs with B and other verbs without B in the same context, which is fascinating, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. This is one of the most extreme examples of variation in 1st year. The student here, أنا بروح. So she used بروح with a B. And then the next verb, there's a conjugation error here, of course. أنا تشرب شاي وأتكلم مع ماما وبابا. Modern MSA. Then she used the same verb, but without ba. And the reason this is actually fascinating is because in studies of dialect contact, when speakers, it's like the formation of a new variety. When speakers of 2 varieties come together, there's a stage in which they use new features, they use them in some contexts, but they don't in other contexts. They are not systematic in the way they use them. There is a wide range of variability before they become more systematic, and that's exactly what the learners showed here. Now, in 2nd year, that was 1st year. In 2nd year, it appeared in the production of only 5 students with an average of 2 instances per presentation. Starting, like MSA is starting to show up more. In 3rd year, only in the productions of 3 students with only 4 instances in the entire data. And it was interesting the way they were used. In one of them, بعرف, the font is a little bit changed. The student immediately adjusted it to أعرف, the MSA, repair. And in the other 2 cases, this is بحب and بظن. So verbs, state verbs, representing cognitive and affective states. So in a way, expressing, also relating to the self. Another pattern, so more systematicity in their use up to 3rd year. The other example is repairs, which is what I talked about briefly. And the way in their trajectory, so in first year, they were non-existent. In second year, they started to appear. In third year, this is a count. In the formal presentations, 16 repairs took place in the data. The participants, when saying a word in colloquial Arabic, they immediately shifted to modern standard Arabic, the more appropriate variety. Zero repairs from MSA to CA in the presentations. In the skits, 0 from CA to MSA. They wouldn't repair MSA, but in the direction 6 in the direction of CA. Again, kind of awareness. I cannot assume that they're aware of all the linguistic choices that they make, pretty much the same as Arabic speakers, as studies of code switching also report. They are not always aware of the sociolinguistic functions that they perform, but they still do it. Okay, now, this is an example of repair from third students. This is from the formal presentations. وتونس كمان أيضا عندها تاريخ طويل ومثير. Now, the skit. خدنا إلى على فندق الشمس في ساحة التحرير لو سمحت. Like they immediately doing that. Okay. Please excuse me for the interest. I also studied I found patterns of intrasentential mixing documented in the speech of bilingual speakers. And I have examples on additional slides, but for the interest of time, I'll skip them to sociolinguistic functions. Now, in studying sociolinguistic functions, I found an interesting pattern. The participants seemed to conform to the sociolinguistic quote-unquote norms of MSA and CA use. So they used, to them, it seemed that in their MSA use, MSA was the more formal, distant, and abstract variety, whereas CA was the more personal, intimate, and concrete variety. So when they switched to MSA, typically it was for highlighting important information or indicating distance also. And the systematicity started to appear more clearly as of second year. But I noticed an interesting pattern in first year. This is from first year. The student, basically, the matrix language is Ammiya. But I noticed that when they spoke about the other, not the self, and بحب, بظن, بعرف, when they were talking about the other, the third person, they typically shifted to MSA. In a way, creating that distance. Second year, notice how interesting this example is. أنا بدي أحكي عن كأس العالم. أنا بدي أحكي عن كأس العالم. And then, وهذا مناسبة رياضية وسيكون هذا الصيف القادم في برازيل. Notice the shift of the entire discourse when it started to seem more like presenting more, in a way, factual information. Moving from the personal and concrete to the distant and abstract. Third year, it started to get, like, as they increased in their Arabic studies, the functions started to become more nuanced. So in third year here, منظمات للحقوق البشرية, and it was fascinating. Whenever they were reporting information about international organizations or key concepts or immigration, it was always in MSA, always in MSA. And then, طبعا قالوا, and this is also reported in the speech of Arabic speakers, indirect quoting, also in CA, colloquial Arabic. مثل back with a significant piece of information, منظمة العفو الدولية, back to modern standard Arabic. قالت, again, indirect quoting, هالحدث كان emphasizing ظالم جدا. Even she emphasized it with her tone of voice. كان ظالم جدا. So using that to emphasize. On the other hand, the patterns that I noticed in switching to CA are for the personalization of topics, simplifying or explaining, and introducing parenthetical phrases and fillers, like يعني, خلاص, 2 minutes? Okay, but this is really the fun part, the CA part, okay? Notice, وشرب القهوة جزء من تنوع في كل الدنيا أيضاً. وإن شاء الله أنتوا تشربوا القهوة. Now, when establishing direct communication or connection with the audience, shifting to CA. Opinions. والأرض كتير حلوة. was never an opinion, I mean, typically for second-year students, unless in CA. Simplifications, clarifications. This is from second year. الشيشة عادة تدخنها في المجموعة، الناس في المقهى أو ممكن في بيت صديقتك. يعني مش ما بتشوف عادة واحد بدخنها لحاله. Like the whole discourse shifted to تعمية. ينتقل الرأس مثل مثل هيك. When exemplifying also or simplifying, it was in CA. I'll try to rush through these, but the very same patterns were documented in the speech of Arabic speakers. In an analysis of by Halls, 1993, 6 speeches by the late Egyptian President Nasser, who was a very powerful public speaker. Halls reported that Nasser used MSA for the more abstract and impersonal information, CA, concrete, physical, and strongly associated with the personalization of topics. Similar trends reported by Arabic speakers. Bassiouni says in her data of Arabic speakers, MSA indexed authority, formality, detachment, and abstractness, whereas CA indexed personalization, intimacy, concreteness, and one-on-one relationship with the audience. So, future research. I'd like to study, of course, expand the data, study fourth-year students and beyond to see how that develops. Larger student populations at different programs also. See different ways of integration, how that is done. More varieties of task types. Classroom observations, also see how they actually do it in online production. Reflective data from interviews and stimulated recalls and longitudinal approach in the study. May I have 1 minute?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, so finally, what the learners were actually doing was that they were accommodating multiple linguistic systems, and how brilliant was that? It's actually, and it aligns with the development of interlanguage in second language acquisition. The learners are imposing structure on their language. So, just like bilinguals, it is not a deficit, it is an ability. It is a skill in and of itself. Basically, evolving sociolinguistic competence. So, food for thought. Like all aspects, and this is a quotation about language acquisition, feedback, and encouragement from the teachers and the belief in the students' ability, we shouldn't discourage them. They can do it. They can. And their ability to master the skill, it helps them. All that progression, it's a process. It's not a one-shot thing. It is a process. And Belknap, developing competence needs time. Be patient and realistic. Don't expect them to perfect it from day one. And one thing that I actually wanted to say is that also when I analyzed the data in light of the framework of bilingual speakers, I found them adherent to principles like the non-contradictory principle. There was never a contradiction between the grammar of CA or the grammar of MSA. Just like speakers, it's systematic. They don't violate the grammars of either variety. And I'll be happy to talk about the implications in the Q&A section. These are my acknowledgements, colleagues who helped, institutions that funded this research, select references, and thank you.
Thank you.